In this video, we'll be looking at solving systems by substitution exercise B. I will be working out two problems off of this assignment as a refresher for you from yesterday's lesson. Now, my intentions are for you to complete solving systems by graphing, which we did on Thursday, and then solving systems by substitution exercise A, which we looked at yesterday. And so we're going to go ahead and start off by looking at let's go ahead and look at number 2. So number 2, we have negative 2x minus y equals 5, and we also have y equals negative 6x minus 1. Now remember, when it comes to the substitution method, you always have to make sure one of your equations is solved for either x equals or y equals. Now in this case, my second equation is solved for y. So here, this means that anytime I see a y value, I know that its expression is equivalent to negative 6x minus 21. So when I go over to the other equation to substitute in negative 6x minus 21 for y, there's something that you have to remember. Anytime there is a minus sign in front of a variable, it's understood that the coefficient is negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute in negative 6x minus 21 for y. And this is going to look like negative 2x minus, I'm going to go ahead and include the 1. And because I have a coefficient other than a positive 1 in front of my variable, whenever I come to substitute in negative 6x minus 21 for y, I have to include parentheses. From here, I'm solving an equation. And our first step in solving an equation is always to distribute. So I'm going to go ahead and drop down negative 2x, and I'm distributing negative 1 times negative 6x, which gives me a positive 6x. And a negative 1 times a negative 21, which gives me a positive 21. And this equals 5. Now, from here, we're combining like terms. So I have negative 2x plus 6x, which gives us 4x. Dropping down, plus 21 equals 5. So now our next step is to isolate the variable x. Right now, 21 is being added to x. So I have to do the inverse of that. I have to subtract 21 to both sides. Here, I end up with 4x equals. Now, 5 minus 21 is going to give us negative 16. Now, your last step is to divide by 4 on both sides, and here I end up with x equals negative 4. Now that I know the value of x, I want to find the value of y. So here, we're going to take this result, x equals negative 4, and we're going to substitute it into one of our two original equations. Now, again, I want to know what y is equal to. So whenever I look at my two original equations, the second equation is going to be the easiest for me to solve or find the value of y because it's already set equal to y. So here, anytime I see an x value, I am going to substitute it in with negative 4. So here, I end up with y equals negative 6. Now guys, because I have a coefficient in front of x, whenever I come to substitute in negative 4, we have to make sure that we include parentheses. And this is minus 21. Now from here, you can go ahead and type this directly into your calculator, or you can solve by hand. Here, negative 6 times negative 4 is a positive 24. Minus 21 gives me a positive 3. So I want your answer as a solution. So remember, my solution is an ordered pair. And every ordered pair has an x and y value. So here, my solution would be negative 4, 3. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Let's go ahead and move over to number 9. For number 9, we have x minus 4y equals negative 14, and we have 5x minus 8y equals 14. So very first thing, guys, remember is that one of our equations has to be solved for either x equals or y equals. So when I look at my two equations, I need to determine which equation is going to be the easiest for me to solve for either x equals or y equals. And that is going to be the first equation. And the reason behind that is because here I have a coefficient of 1. And anytime I have a coefficient of 1, it just makes it easier on us in solving that equation. So here I have x minus 4y equals negative 14. I want to solve for x. I want to get x all by itself, But right now, 4y is being subtracted. So to get x by itself, I'm going to add 4y to both sides. And I end up with x equals 4y minus 14. Now, I know that x is equivalent to 4y minus 14. So in my second problem, anywhere I see an x value, I am now going to substitute in with 4y minus 14. So this becomes negative 5. And again, because I have a coefficient in front of my variable, when I come over to substitute this expression, which is called a binomial because it has two terms, when I come to substitute in this expression here for x, again, I need to include parentheses because there's a coefficient other than 1 in front of x. So here I have 4y minus 14. And a big common mistake that I saw yesterday was that a lot of people were forgetting to drop down the rest of their equation. So this is minus 8y equals negative 14. So now I want to solve, and the only variable here for me to solve for is y. So here I'm going to distribute. Negative 5 times 4y is negative 20y. Negative 5 times negative 4 is a positive 70. Minus 8y equals negative 14. Now my next step is to combine like terms. So we have negative 20y minus 8y, which ends up giving us negative 28y. And I'm dropping down plus 70 equals negative 14. Now, my next step is to isolate the variable. And to isolate the variable, we're going to go ahead and instead of adding 70, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 70 to both sides. Now here, I'm left with negative 28y equals negative 14 minus 70, which is negative 84. Now our last step is to divide. I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by negative 28. So here, negative 28 cancels, and now in our calculators, we need to go ahead and take negative 84 divided by negative 28. And here we end up with a positive 3. So now that I know that y is equal to 3, I want to find the value of x. So again, we need to look at our two original equations, and we need to decide which equation is going to be the easiest for us to find our x value. And again, that's going to happen to be the first equation, because here I already have a positive 1x. So here I'm going to take the equation x minus 4y equals negative 14. And again, because I know the value of y, anytime I see a y value, I'm going to substitute in with 3. So I have x minus 4. Again, I'm going to replace y with 3. And this equals negative 14. Now we want to go ahead and solve for x. So negative 4 times 3 is a negative 12. And this equals negative 14. Next step, plus 12 to both sides. And here I end up with x equals negative 14 plus 2, which is negative 2. So now that I know the value of x and y, I want to write this out as an ordered pair. So as an ordered pair, my answer is negative 2, 3. So that is going to go ahead and be the refresher going over the substitution method. Again, make sure that you are finishing up your solving systems by graphing and then solving substitution by exercise A. You should not have very many questions left on either of those. And then you can go ahead and complete this assignment. See y'all tomorrow.